Hi again. Good to see you guys again. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. Mondays are off to a good start, and I'm wishing you guys the best of weeks. We're on our way to another read aloud. I checked the other day to see where we were, and we're closing in on 50 read alouds. I think this might be 47. It's somewhere in there, but it's hard to believe that we've been apart that long. But I hope at least you guys have been enjoying some of these. And enjoying them. If you hear some noise in the background here, that's because my kids are doing their tap dancing classes right now through Zoom. So if there's a little bit of that, my apologies. Otherwise, let's get started. I'm going to read you a book called Me, Jane. Here's the cover. And it actually is part of the story of Jane Goodall, who, such an important scientist, showed how monkeys could communicate and how they actually have a lot of human characteristics. It's just an enjoyable book, and here we go. And maybe if you are interested, you could try something else out on Jane Goodall at some point. Jane had a stuffed toy chimpanzee named Jubilee. She cherished Jubilee and took him everywhere she went, and Jane loved to be outside. She watched birds making their nests, spiders spinning their webs, and squirrels chasing one another up and down trees. Jane learned all that she could about the animals and plants she studied in her backyard and read about in books. This is a picture of some of the things she worked with. Alligators, we have animals from Africa, here's monkeys and chimpanzees, birds. One day, curious Jane wondered where eggs came from, so she and Jubilee snuck into Grandma Nut's chicken coop, hid behind some straw, stayed very still, and observed the miracle. It was a magical world full of joy and wonder, and Jane felt very much a part of it. I love how she is so interested in learning. Jane often climbed her favorite tree, which she named Beech. She would lay her cheek against its trunk and seem to feel the sap flowing beneath the bark. Jane could feel her own heart beating, beating, beating. She had this special connection with nature. With the wind in her hair, she read and reread the books about Tarzan of the Apes, in which another girl, also named Jane, lived in the jungles of Africa. Jane dreamed of a life in Africa too. A life living with and helping all animals. We have a giraffe, some birds. Here's Jane and Jubilee. Elephant. I guess that would be a lion. At night, Jane would tuck Jubilee into bed, say her prayers, and fall asleep. To awake one day to her dream come true. Isn't that a fantastic photograph? It shows Jane Goodall as an adult connecting with a chimpanzee. And I'm going to read you this about Jane Goodall, because what this story does is it emphasizes you can dream as a little kid and your dreams can come true, and that's what this was about. It showed Jane thinking of what she wanted to be. She had this wonderful connection with animals and nature as a young girl, and she followed those connections. She followed her dreams and her aspirations all the way through to adulthood and did what she wanted to do one day. Let me read you about Jane. When Jane Goodall was 10 years old, she decided that when she grew up, she would go to Africa, live with the animals, and write about them. Almost everyone told her this goal was impossible. Her family had little money, and she was a girl in a time where girls were not encouraged to pursue adventurous careers. But her mother encouraged her to follow her dream. When Jane finished school, She continued to learn about Africa and worked hard to save enough money to go there. She finally arrived in 1957, met famed anthropologist Louis Leakey, and began studying chimpanzees at the Gombe Stream Game Reserve, now known as the Gombe Stream National Park, in Tanzania in 1960. One of Jane's most important observations was her discovery that chimpanzees are able to make and use tools. Until this time, experts thought only humans were able to do so. But based on Jane's remarkable studies, the world was forced to rethink what makes humans different from animals. She wrote about these discoveries and countless other observations in her 1986 book, The Chimpanzees of Gombe: Patterns of Behavior. Today, Jane travels around the world raising awareness about the plight of chimpanzees and environmental conservation. Human populations are growing. The forests in Africa where chimpanzees live are being cut down, and chimps and other animals are being hunted for food. She set up the Jane Goodall Institute, an organization that helps communities near wild places grow more food, have clean water, and send children to school, while also teaching people how to protect the nearby wildlife. Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots program has been set up to educate young people everywhere about the world's environmental and social problems, and to empower them to take action. This growing organization operates in more than 120 countries, and there are tens of thousands of members ranging in age from preschool students to university students. So I believe this may have been the second book I've read on Jane Goodall this year, but just remember, follow your dreams, try to make an impact on life, don't let anybody tell you you can't accomplish anything. And I'll see you guys for our Tuesday Read Aloud coming up. Bye, McGinn.